What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 148 of the Idiotic Sports Talk. I'm your host, Liam Gavin, coming to you live from my dining room, and today I want to give you all the Week 13 recap around the NFL. A lot of craziness, drama, and suspense as usual, so let's get right into it. The Thursday game, Bills beat the Patriots 24-10. Josh Allen, 223 passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a fumble. Stephon Diggs, 7 catches for 92 yards and a touchdown. As for Patriots quarterback Mac Jones, 195 passing, a touchdown, and no interceptions. And the rookie cornerback Marcus Jones, he had 2 catches for 51 yards and a touchdown. So the Bills take down their divisional rival on the road to go to 9-3. The Bills were just able to run the ball down the Patriots defense's throat all night with 122 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. And the Bills ran the ball more than they threw the ball. They had 37 rush attempts compared to their 33 pass attempts. And as for the Patriots, their offense was just awful. They had 255 total yards versus the Bills, while the Bills had 345 total offensive yards. And you know it's bad for the Patriots when their leading wide receiver and only touchdown scorer of the game was a rookie cornerback. Their running game did nothing. They had 60 total rushing yards, and quarterback Mac Jones was seen on the sideline screaming at his offensive coordinator, Matt Patricia. And as for the defense, they get exposed yet again. They are an elite defense versus bad offenses, but when they play a good offense, their defense just disappears. Just all around an ugly night for the Patriots. They're now 6-6. On to the Sunday games. Packers beat the Bears 28-19. Aaron Rodgers, 182 passing, a touchdown, no interceptions. A.J. Dillon, 93 rushing yards and a touchdown. And the rookie receiver Christian Watson, a receiving and rushing touchdown. As for Bears QB Justin Fields, 254 passing, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 71 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. And tight end Cole Kmet, 6 catches for 72 yards. So the Packers sweep their divisional rival to go 5-8 on the season. And the Packers were able to get this win by not turning the ball over on offense and getting turnovers on defense. And after being down 16-3 in the second quarter, the Packers were just able to outscore the Bears 25-3. And I'm sorry, Bear fans, Aaron Rodgers still owns you guys like he always does, like he owns my Cowboys. I'm just telling you, something just is up with this guy. I think that, I said it before, that he dated a Bears fan in high school or whenever, and she cheated on him with a Cowboys fan, and now it's like no matter when they play, they just always beats him. He takes it personally. And as for the Bears, they just shot themselves in the foot. Chase Claypool fumbled on what seemed like it was a successful drive in Green Bay territory. They got a blocked extra point, a missed field goal, and 2 interceptions. And Justin Fields, he ran the ball really well, but passing the ball, he did not look good. He threw 2 crucial interceptions. The Bears are now 3-10 and have now lost 6 straight games. The next game we have is the Steelers beating the Falcons 19-16. The rookie quarterback Kenny Pickett, 197 passing, a touchdown, no interceptions. Najee Harris, 86 rushing yards, and the tight end Pat Freiermuth, 3 catches for 76 yards. As for Marcus Mariota, 167 passing, a touchdown, and an interception. And the rookie receiver Drake London, 6 catches for 95 yards. So the Steelers now won their last 3 of 4 games and go 5-7 on the season. And Kenny Pickett hasn't really lit it up yet, but he's been protecting the ball a lot better lately. The Steelers offense may have found a groove as they have 350 total yards this game, and the Steelers' running attack did some damage again with 153 total rushing yards. The Falcons' offense was able to gain 146 total rushing yards, but made some painful mistakes. Their first mistake was late in the fourth quarter. They were down 19-13. Cordell Patterson hit a long rushing touchdown, but it was called back due to holding. And the second mistake was Mariota picked off with 45 seconds left in the game. As for the Falcons' defense, they forced no turnovers or they had no pressure on Kenny Pickett, especially going against a terrible O-line. And you could see, you could argue that the Falcons caused a fumble on wide receiver Deontay Johnson, but the refs called it an incomplete pass. It was very debatable. Either way, the Falcons are 5-8. Next, the Vikings beat the Jets 27-22. Kirk Cousins, 173 passing, a touchdown, no interceptions. Dalvin Cook, 86 rushing yards and a touchdown, and Justin Jefferson, 7 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown. As for Jets QB Mike White, 369 passing, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions and a rushing touchdown, and the rookie receiver Garrett Wilson, 8 catches for 162. So the Vikings win a nail-biter and are 10-2, and on the stat sheet, Kirk Cousins did nothing special, but he made sure to not turn the ball over, and the Vikings run game had a total of 128 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, and the Vikings defense made some big plays down the stretch. They had a 4th and goal with 1:45 left in the game. They were able to stop the Jets then, and then with 16 seconds left in the game, they stepped up again with an interception in the end zone to close the game out. And the Jets offense had 489 total yards, but no touchdowns. They just couldn't get the touchdowns in the end zone. They had to settle for field goals, and the Jets were down 22-6 at one point. But, they were knocking on the door of the Vikings, but were just able to not pull off the comeback. And Mike White, he had some clutch plays late in the game. He threw for a lot of yards, but he threw 2 interceptions. He didn't throw any touchdowns at all. And he was 31 for 57 in his passing attempts. The Jets defense did all they could to get them back in the game. But, they didn't get any help from their offense because their offense couldn't get touchdowns. Jets are now 7-5. Next, the Lions beat the Jags 40-14. Jared Goff, 340 passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. DeAndre Swift had a rushing touchdown, and so did Jamal Williams. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, 11 catches for 144 and 2 scores. Trevor Lawrence, 179 passing, a touchdown, no interceptions, and Christian Kirk, 6 catches for 104, and tight end Evan Ingram had a touchdown catch. So the Lions are able to bully the Jaguars to go 5-7. Jared Goff and the Lions offense were absolutely rolling. They had 440 total yards and no turnovers. And the Lions defense also contributed with 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and only gave up 274 yards to the Jaguars offense. And as of the Jaguars, they had a crazy comeback win last week against the Ravens, but they did not show up against the Lions. The passing and running game just struggled immensely. The Jags defense got absolutely torched, and they are now 4-8. Next, the Eagles beat the Titans 35-10. Jalen Hurts, 380 passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. A.J. Brown, 8 grabs for $119 and 2 scores. Devontae Smith, 5 catches for 102 and a touchdown. As for Ryan Tannehill, 141 passing, a touchdown, no interceptions, and the rookie Treylon Burke had a receiving touchdown. So the Eagles got a dominant win to go to 11-1. Their offense had 458 total yards, and the Titans have a really stout running game, and they proved that by giving up only 67 rushing yards to the Eagles, but their secondary is absolutely garbage, so Jalen Hurts took advantage of that. A.J. Brown got revenge versus former team. He was a Titan, and they traded him. Pretty much said, we're not going to pay you, and they traded him, and he certainly got his revenge. And the Eagles' defense had 6 sacks and just got Tannehill really frustrated and startled. And as for the Titans, their offense did absolutely nothing. They only had 234 total yards. Henry in the run game was shut down for just 87 yards versus a team that's not great at stopping the run. And it's bad when the Titans couldn't run the ball because Ryan Tannehill was their leading rusher with 34 yards in the game. Titans are now 7-5. Next is the Browns beating the Texans 27-15. Deshaun Watson, 131, no touchdowns and an interception. Nick Chubb, 80 rushing yards. And as for quarterback Kyle Allen of the Texans, 201 passing, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a fumble. And Nico Collins had a touchdown catch. So the Browns get a win and go to 5-7. Deshaun Watson, in his first game back after serving a 12-game suspension, gets revenge versus former team. And he honestly didn't look that great in his return. But he didn't have to look great because he had some help. The special teams was able to get a punt return touchdown. And then the defense was able to get a pick 6 and a fumble 6. And their running game also had 174 total yards. And as I mentioned before, the Browns defense had themselves a game. They had 2 interceptions, 1 going for 6, and they also had 2 fumbles. 1 also went for 6 in that as well. And as for the Texans, they just continue to look miserable like they have all year. Just not even worth talking about at this point. I feel like I'm wasting time. The Texans now have 1 win, 10 losses, and 1 tie on the season. They've lost 7 straight games and are now officially eliminated from the playoffs. Next, the Commanders and Giants tie at 20-20. Taylor Heineke, 275 passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a fumble. The rookie running back, Brian Robinson, had 96 rushing yards. Terry McLaurin, 8 catches for 105 and a touchdown. As for Daniel Jones, 200 passing yards, a touchdown, no interceptions, 71 rushing yards, and a touchdown. Saquon Barkley, not a touchdown, a fumble. Saquon Barkley, 63 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. And Darius Slayton, 6 grabs for 90 yards. So both teams wind up tying. And if you're a Cowboys fan like me or an Eagles fan, you're laughing at your division rivals tying. And both teams, they just had plenty of opportunities to win but couldn't cash in. Each team would get a good drive. They would get it into enemy territory, but then it would stall by an incomplete pass, a penalty, negative yardage, which would lead to punts. And, as a Cowboys fan, I'm still cracking up about this, seeing the rival teams tie. This could be huge down the stretch for both teams' playoff impact. See if they can make the playoffs. This could really come down to it. Commanders now have 7 wins, 5 losses, and a tie on the season, as the Giants are 7-4-1 on the season. The next game, the Ravens beat the Broncos 10-9. Lamar Jackson left early with a knee injury, so in comes Tyler Huntley with 187 passing, no touchdowns, an interception, and a rushing touchdown. Tight end Mark Andrews, 4 catches for 53 yards. And as for Russell Wilson of the Broncos, 189 passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and the rookie tight end Greg Dulcich, 6 catches for 85 yards. The Ravens moved to 8-4 with a bounce-back win, but the bad news is Lamar got a knee injury and had to leave the game early, and I saw something where it could be a sprained PCL, so he might miss a few weeks. So in comes quarterback Tyler Huntley. He was on the Ravens for a little bit. He's kind of like a Lamar Jackson quarterback. He was able to go down the field with a little over a minute left in the game, and he seized his opportunity by running in for the go-ahead touchdown. That's got to be a huge boost of confidence for him, and speedy recovery to Lamar Jackson. Pretty much everyone I know loves to watch Lamar play. He's an exciting quarterback, so it sucks to see a dude like that hurt, especially in his contract year. But as for the Broncos, they, on the other hand, were just putrid, especially on the offensive side. I don't expect to see any good offense from this team at all this season, and I feel bad for their defense because their defense had a really solid game, but they had no hope from the offense. Broncos country is now 3-9 with 4 straight losses. Next, the Niners beat the Dolphins 33-17. Jimmy G broke his foot early in the game, so in comes the rookie quarterback Brock Purdy with 210 passing, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Christian McCaffrey had 66 rushing yards, 8 catches for 80 yards, and a receiving touchdown. As for Tua Tagovailoa, 295 passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a fumble. And Tyreek Hill, 9 grabs for $146 and a score. So the Niners improved to 8-4 and now won 5 straight games. The bad news is that Jimmy G is most likely done for the year with a broken foot, so speedy recovery to him. The Niners also lost Trey Lance earlier in the season, so now it's Trey and Jimmy that aren't most likely not going to come back this season. But don't worry about it, because in comes Brock Purdy, a.k.a. Mr. Irrelevant of the 2022 draft. He was pick number 262, the very last pick in the draft. He was asked to step up, thrown into the fire last minute, and he absolutely delivered. And he's got a really solid supporting cast around him. He's got a really good coach, solid receivers, great running game, and an elite defense to help back him up. And speaking of the Niners defense, they ate that game. They had 3 picks, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble that was ran back for a touchdown. As for the Dolphins, Tua struggled this game. He had 3 total turnovers. And the big question that a lot of people had was, can he go on the road versus a very good team and win? He proved that he didn't in this game. He struggled, but the whole team absolutely struggled. The run game was just absolutely terrible. They had 30 total yards, and the Dolphins defense could not stop the run at all by giving up 121 rushing yards. The Dolphins now are 8-4, and their 5-game win streak comes to an end. Next, the Seahawks beat the Rams 27-23. Geno Smith, 363 passing, 3 touchdowns, an interception, and a fumble. Tyler Lockett, 9 grabs for 128 and a touchdown. And DK Metcalf, 8 grabs for 127 and a touchdown. John Walford of the Rams, 3 for 178, no touchdowns, 2 picks. And Cam Akers had 2 rushing touchdowns on the afternoon. So the Seahawks find themselves in the win column against their divisional rival to go 7-5. The Seahawks run game struggled a bit with just 90 yards, but Geno Smith put the ball in his hands and took care of business. And even after the 2 turnovers that Geno had, it didn't faze him. He shook it off and bounced back. Seahawks offense had 457 total yards, and their defense had 4 sacks with 2 interceptions. So as for the Rams, Matt Stafford was out again. In comes John Walford to get the start. The Rams offense actually looked decent for once with 349 total yards. And they even got their run game going for the first time this season with 171 total yards on the ground. But unfortunately, their passing game just wasn't there. The Rams defense had a decent game too. They had an interception, a forced fumble, and 4 sacks. But the secondary just could not stop the receiver tandem of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And because of that, the Rams are now 3-9. They now have 6 straight losses. Next, the Raiders take care of the Chargers 27-20. Derek Carr, 250 passing, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Josh Jacobs, 144 rushing yards, a touchdown and a fumble. And Devontae Adams, 8 catches for 177 and 2 scores. As for Justin Herbert, 335, a touchdown, no interceptions. And Keenan Allen, 6 grabs for 88 yards and a touchdown. The Raiders go to 5-7 after beating their divisional rival, and they've won 3 straight games. They're starting to put a little something together, it seems like. And early in the first quarter, Josh Jacobs had a fumble, and and Derek Carr had a pick six. They were down 10-0, but they were able to bounce back in a huge way. The Raiders' offense exploded for 404 total yards. Their defense stepped up with 5 sacks and a forced fumble, and the Chargers could not run the ball. They only had 72 rushing yards on the afternoon, and Herbert had a solid game, but his defense did not show up. And although his defense did get an early forced fumble and a pick six, they got ran all over for 154 total yards and got absolutely torched by Devontae Adams. Chargers are now 6-6 on the season. The next game is the Bengals beating the Chiefs 27-24. Mahomes 223 passing. He also had a touchdown, no interceptions, a rushing touchdown. And as for the rookie running back, Isaiah Pacheco, 66 rushing yards and a touchdown. Bengals QB Joe Burrow, 286 passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. And Samaje Perine had 106 rushing yards. And Jamar Chase, 7 catches for 97 yards. T. Higgins had a touchdown catch in this game. So the Bengals moved to 8-4 and now won 4 straight games. The Bengals are 3-0 versus the Chiefs in 2022, and the Bengals offense was on fire with 438 total yards. Joe Burrow was responsible for 332 of those yards, and the Bengals running game got it going with 152 yards. The Bengals defense also made some huge plays that were very underrated early in the fourth quarter when they were able to strip tight end Travis Kelce to a fumble, and because of this, they were able to get the go-ahead touchdown. The Chiefs played a good game, but, they let the game slip away from them. The Kelce fumble was huge, and in the final 3 minutes of the game, their defense couldn't get a big stop, especially on a 3rd and 11 play. The Chiefs just have a very tough time against the Bengals. The Bengals seem to have their number. Chiefs are now 9-3, and their 5-game win streak comes to an abrupt end. Next is them Cowboys whooping on the Colts 54-19. Dak Prescott 170 in the air, 3 touchdowns and an interception. Tony Pollard 91 rushing yards and 2 scores. Zeke Elliott also had a rushing touchdown. Michael Gallup had 2 touchdown grabs, and CeeDee Lamb also had a touchdown grab. As for Colts QB Matt Ryan, 233 passing, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions and a fumble. Jonathan Taylor 82 rushing yards, and the rookie receiver Alec Pierce 4 grabs for 86 yards and a touchdown. So the Cowboys absolutely dominate and go to 9-3. And to start the fourth quarter, the Cowboys were up 21-19, but then outscored the Colts 33-0 in the fourth quarter. And I don't care how bad a team is, dropping 33 points in one quarter is really hard to do. The Cowboys offense was rolling, especially with the running game. They had 220 total rushing yards and 5 total touchdowns on the ground. And the Cowboys defense was able to go ham. They had 3 sacks, 3 picks, and 2 forced fumbles, and 1 was returned for the touchdown by the safety Malik Hooker, who got his revenge versus his former team with an interception, and he's the one who scored that touchdown, as I mentioned before. He was drafted by the Colts in 2017, had some lingering injuries. The Colts kind of let him go, and then the Cowboys signed him, and now he seems to find a home here. And as for the Colts, Jeff Saturday's Colts, they played a very tough game for 3 quarters. They've been in pretty much every game that they've lost. They're 1-3 since Saturday took over, and their only really bad loss was against the Cowboys. And sadly, Matt Ryan just isn't that guy anymore. He had 4 total turnovers, and, it's just tough if you're a Colts fan to see. Colts now have 4 wins, 8 losses, and a tie on the season. The final game is the Monday night game. We have the Bucs beating the Saints 17-16. Tom Brady, 281 passing, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Chris Godwin, 8 catches for 63 yards, and the rookie running back Rachaad White, 6 catches, 41 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. So as for Andy Dalton of the Saints, 229 passing, a touchdown, no interceptions, and Taysom Hill, the tight end / quarterback / wide receiver / running back, whatever you want to call him. I call him the Swiss Army knife. He had a touchdown catch. So the Bucs are able to sweep their divisional rival on the season and are now 6-6. The Bucs were down 16-3 in the third quarter, but Tom Brady rallied the troops. There was 5 minutes and 20 seconds left in the game. The Bucs offense scored to make it a 16-10 game with just 3 minutes left, and then the Bucs defense is able to cause a sack and a pass breakup, which would force the Saints to punt. The Bucs get the ball back with 2 minutes left and only 1 timeout. And with just 19 seconds left in the game, Tom Brady hits Chris Godwin for a touchdown, but it's called back due to a holding call. So the ball gets pushed further back. It now becomes 8 third and goal with just 8 seconds left, and Tom Brady hits the rookie running back Rachaad White for the game-winning touchdown. And even with 13 points, they're down 13 points and 5 minutes left in the game, Tom Brady made it work. The Saints did everything they could to win. They didn't turn the ball over. They forced 2 turnovers on the Bucs. They stopped the run, but they still lost. And their head coach, Dennis Allen, he just played it a little too conservative down the stretch, and a big play was when it was 3rd and 17 late in the fourth quarter. Andy Dalton threw an absolute dime to Taysom Hill, and I thought he caught it, but unfortunately he got hit and the ball jarred loose, making an incomplete pass. And if Hill hung on to that, the Saints would have been able to run the clock down and win the game, and the Saints lose a heartbreaker to go to 4-9. So that's it for my week 13 recap around the NFL. Let me know what you guys thought of these games. Let me know which one was the most boring, the most fun, what you enjoyed the most. Let me know if your team won or lost. And remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, to follow me on my Instagram, and to always have a wonderful night, wonderful day, wonderful week. I'll see you later.